The Starbound Oath. They said the Veilwood only opened for the dying. Mira had heard the legend her whole life, whispered between fishermen, stitched into the old women's songs, carved in faded letters above the harbor gate. Cross the Veilwood only when your heart has nothing left to lose. She had always assumed she would never qualify. She had assumed, in the arrogant way of the young and healthy, that she would always have something left to lose. She had been wrong. The forest closed around her like a held breath. Silver trees, bark white as bone, leaves like hammered tin, rose on either side of the path, and between their roots pale flowers bloomed that had no name in any language she knew. The air smelled of rain and burned candle wax and something older, something she could not name but recognized the way you recognize a song you haven't heard since childhood. She walked because there was nothing else to do. She walked because her sister was dying on a straw mattress 3 miles behind her, burning with the ash fever, and every healer in the province had turned Mira away with the same hollow expression. The ash fever has no cure. She walked because she refused to believe that. The figure appeared at the bend in the path without warning. He was tall, taller than she expected, though she hadn't been expecting anyone. His coat was the deep blue of a sky just before true darkness, and his silver hair was threaded through with something that caught the light like starlight threads woven into silk. He stood with his arms crossed and an expression on his face that was not quite surprise and not quite amusement, but something uncomfortably close to both. "You're not dying," he said. "Excuse me?" "The Veilwood." He glanced up at the canopy above them, then back at her, and his eyes were the strangest color she had ever seen, the gray of dawn just before color returns to the world. "It only opens for the dying, or those who carry death inside them." A pause. "You're not dying, but you're carrying it." Mira's throat tightened. "My sister." "Ah." He uncrossed his arms. Something shifted in his face. Not softness exactly, but the possibility of it. "So you walked into an enchanted forest to beg a cure from whatever spirits live here, without a guide, without a bargaining token, without," he looked at her hands, "even a lantern." "I didn't think I'd need one. It's not dark." "It's always dark in the Veilwood. You only can't see it yet." He studied her for a long moment, and she had the uncomfortable sensation of being read, like you read a letter, all at once and completely. "I'll help you." "Why?" He smiled for the first time. It was not a comfortable smile. It was the kind of smile that preceded either great danger or great wonder, and she could not yet tell which. "Because I'm curious about someone who walks into an impossible forest for an impossible cure and asks the first stranger she meets why he's offering to help, rather than simply saying thank you." "I don't know you." "No," he agreed, "but you will." His name was Solen, and he was not a spirit. He was, he explained as they walked deeper into the Veilwood, something considerably more complicated. A warden, bound to the forest for reasons he described in the clipped tones of someone who had rehearsed the summary to remove all emotional content from it. He had been here for a very long time. He did not say how long. She did not ask. What she did ask, because she could not stop herself, was whether he was lonely. He was quiet for so long she thought he hadn't heard her. The silver trees whispered. A white moth the size of her hand drifted past and vanished into the shadows between the roots. "I didn't think I was," he said finally, "until about 3 minutes ago." She looked at him. He was looking straight ahead. They walked in a silence that felt, strangely, like something being decided. The Heartspring was everything the old songs promised, and nothing she had imagined. It was a pool no larger than a dinner table, its water perfectly still and luminous, lit from beneath by something she couldn't see. Around it, the silver trees had grown together so tightly overhead that not even moonlight could enter, and yet there was light. There was always light here, Solen said. It had been here before the forest. It would be here after. "You'll need to carry some home," he said, kneeling at the water's edge. "In what?"
She pulled out the small glass vial she'd thought to bring, the one small practical thing she'd done right. He took it from her fingers, and for a moment their hands were close together in the silver light, and she was very aware of how warm his skin was against hers, how at odds it was with everything cold and ethereal about this place. He filled the vial. He handed it back. "Will it work?" she asked. "Yes." No hesitation. She closed her fingers around the warm glass and felt something release in her chest, a knot she had been carrying for so many days she had forgotten it wasn't part of her anatomy. "Thank you," she said. Then, because she had walked into an impossible forest and survived it and was apparently the kind of person who did reckless things when the alternative was regret, "I'd like to come back."
Solen looked at her. In the light of the heart spring, his gray eyes held something new, something careful and bright and wanting. "The Veilwood opens for the dying," he said very quietly, "or those carrying death." He paused. "It also opens, though the songs don't mention it, for those returning to something they left behind." She smiled. "Then I'll have a reason." He walked her to the forest's edge. When she turned to look back at the tree line, he was still standing there, tall and silver-threaded, watching her go with an expression she now knew how to read. She walked home through the gray pre-dawn light with a vial of star water in her pocket, and the first true warmth she'd felt in months somewhere behind her sternum, small and certain as a lamp. She would come back. The Veilwood would open. And some oaths the old songs also forgot to mention are sworn without words at all. The wind rises. The bell tolls once across the water. Silence. The end.